So Bhagavad Gita was spoken around 5,100 plus years back in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is right now in Haryana. And right before the battle, Arjun asks Krishna to bring the chariot, the Rath, in the middle of the two armies. And he says, my dear Krishna, I want to see who I'm fighting with, who's my audience, who are the people I'm supposed to kill. And then Arjun sees that these are people who are his relatives, his teachers, his cousins, his friends. And being a soft-hearted devotee, he says, you know what? I'd rather run away to the Himalayas than kill these people and conquer the land. It's better to be a beggar than to be, winning at the cost of all these people that are there. Seeing this, Krishna started listening to Arjun. And Arjun, in the chapter 1, he gives 5 different reasons why he shouldn't fight this war. And they're all very right reasons. They are reasons that are logical, that are moral. And Krishna didn't say anything, he just smiled. Finally, in chapter 2, Krishna was asked by Arjun. Arjun is like, hey, I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what is best for me. Please, Krishna, instead of being my friend, being my equal, become my teacher and tell me what is best for me. Right? And then Krishna starts speaking. And this is where the Bhagavad Gita begins, right? Because till Arjuna didn't ask, Krishna didn't answer. But when Arjuna asked that I'm confused, I'm in dilemma, I don't know what is best for me, my dear Krishna, become my teacher, my mentor, and tell me what is best for me. Then Krishna starts speaking the Bhagavad Gita. And there are many versions of Bhagavad Gita, right? There are many people talking about spirituality. How do I know what is real, what is not? So in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna gives us how to identify, how to learn the Bhagavad Gita. So he says, just tadvidhi paripratena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. This is just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, Tattvadarshi. Inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So there are 3 things that is required to be a student of Bhagavad Gita, according to Krishna. And he's saying, paripratena pariprashnena sevaya. So inquire, ask questions. It's very important that we ask questions. It's not a dogmatic philosophy where we just accept everything on face value. Grandmother said so, grandfather said so, that's why I do it, right? In typical Hindu cultures, that's what we see. That in our families, there are people, seniors who tell us, do it this way, right hand, left hand, this, that, and we just follow without asking questions. Krishna is saying something completely different. He's saying, ask question, pariprashnena. You should ask prashna, right? And then he says, but do so humbly, not in the mood of testing the teacher. Neera Dubey, she has been my teacher and teacher for thousands of students. And I'm sure there are, Dr. Pooja is also here. She's a professor. So teachers know this, that some students tend to just show off how much they know. And as a result, they tend to ask questions that are challenging rather than for the knowledge sake. So it is important that we don't do that. We ask questions to know, not ask questions to challenge, because knowledge flows where intention goes, right? So knowledge flows from higher level to lower level. If you are challenging the teacher, that's not a submissive position. So Krishna is saying, tadvidhi paripratena pariprashnena sevaya. So inquire with submissively, render service unto him. What seva? What service? Help the teacher help you better. It's not like you have to pay or you have to give big gifts, nothing like that. But help the teacher help you better. How do you do that? By listening intently, by asking questions, And if something connects with you, tell others, share it with others, and bring them to the teacher, right? That's seva. So you inquire submissively, you accept the knowledge, you apply it in your life, you render service to the person you're receiving the knowledge from. And when you do that, the knowledge, the truth becomes revealed to you. So Gyan becomes Vigyan. Philosophical knowledge becomes practical knowledge or realized knowledge. The aha moment comes, like, aha, I get it, right? Till then, it is like, I don't know, maybe it's this way, that way. But when you get that aha moment, then it becomes a part of you. It becomes like living that knowledge. So that happens when you apply these principles. Now, there is a process of this knowledge coming down to us. So there are many people who have written the Bhagavad Gita commentaries, there are many Bhagavad Gitas out there. But again, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 itself, Krishna says that there is a proper disciplic succession, Guru Shishya Parampara, Evam Parampara Praptam, right? So through this Parampara, Krishna is giving this knowledge. So it started with Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma, the first created being, right? Lord Brahma gave the knowledge to Narada Muni. Narada gave that knowledge to Vyasadev. As we know, Vyasadev compiled all the Vedic knowledge into written form. And from Vyasa, it has come down to Madhvacharya, and like that all the way down to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to us, right? There's a whole unbroken chain. Now, that's not the only disciplic succession. There are 4 sampradayas, 4 paramparas. One is coming from Lakshmi Devi. It's called Sri Sampradaya. So if you see Tirupati, Balaji, and the Ramanuja followers, they have a tilak like this, and in the middle there's a red color that showcases Lakshmi Devi. We come in the line of Lord Brahma. So it's Brahma Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya. So Lakshmi Devi, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the 4 Kumaras. These are the 4 personalities who have received the knowledge directly from Krishna. And they have brought it down through various Guru Shishya Parampara or disciplic succession. When you receive this knowledge from any of the 4 paramparas, it is considered bona fide. If it is not in any of the paramparas, it is considered to be not bona fide, right? So any Tom, Dick, and Harry wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I'm going to take the Bhagavad Gita knowledge and I'm going to tell you my interpretation. It is as good as poetry. You know, poetry is nice and entertaining, but it doesn't have to be truth or applicable to our lives always. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So when we receive the knowledge through the bona fide system, then it has a tremendous impact on us because it's coming from the bona fide system as given by Krishna. Just like we go to a university, we learn, we get a stamp that this is a bona fide degree. It's affiliated to such and such authority, and thus what you know is certified as a degree. So there is a bona fide way of receiving this through the Guru Shishya Parampara, right? As we see here, all the way down from Lord Brahma, Narad Muni, like that, coming down to Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, and to the generations beyond. So more clearly showcasing here, Lord Krishna gave the knowledge, Gayatri Mantra and all the Vedas and everything to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma gave it to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave it to Vyasadev, who compiled it in written form with the help of Ganesha, right? Ganesha wrote it down, Vyasadev dictated. From there, Madhvacharya, from there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, there are many teachers in between, to Rupa Goswami. Like that, there are many, many teachers who have come down all the way, right? Through hundreds and hundreds of years, they're holding on to this knowledge. Down, down, down to Srila Prabhupada, who took this knowledge to the Western world. So it was not only known to us, but also taken to the Western world. And with the last 14 years of his life, Srila Prabhupada, he took this knowledge and spread it across to more than 100 countries. He built 100 temples, colleges, restaurants, just to make sure there is a whole thriving community of those who are practitioners of the Bhagavad Gita knowledge. And then his disciple, there are many disciples, and they have become gurus, and they have continued the tradition forward. So I have received my Diksha from such a person named His Holiness Ramapad Swami Maharaj. So this knowledge has come through a Guru Shishya Parampara, and it continues, and it's going to continue forward. Our generation will take it to the next generation, what I'm doing right now, sharing it with all of you. Right now, what does the different chapters comprise of? Chapter 1 to 6 is about us, right? It's about you, basically the jiva. So basically it covers, so we have all the recordings, you can go through them if any of you so desire. But basically it talks about the soul, talks about the mind, talks about the body, talks about how they interact, right? The soul cannot be killed, the soul is never born, cannot be burnt, cannot be hurt, right? How anger works, how the different modes work, how the yoga process works, how we can control the mind, intelligence, ego. So all of that stuff is discussed from chapter 1 to 6. Then chapter 7 to 12 is all about Krishna. So the Bhagavad Gita has 5 elements. Ishvara, that is about God, it's about Krishna. Jiva, it's about us, living entities. Karma, activities, things that we do. Kala, time. And Prakriti, material nature, how things are interacting, in this material world. So how it is designed, and how, what was the intent for this design, and how we can align ourselves with this design so that we can have a fruitful life. For example, there are 24 hours in a day, and there are 3 gunas, sattva, raja, tama. So 24 hours can be divided into 8, 8, 8, right? And the first 8 is supposed to be goodness or sattvic. The next 8 is supposed to be rajasic. The next 8 is tamasic. So sattvic means it's time for meditation, for exercises, for prayers, worship. So the morning hours, right? The first 8 hours. Then the next 8 hours is rajasic, where you do work. You need the mode of passion to get things done. Then comes tamasic, the nighttime, when things are dark. It's supposed to take rest, slow down, go to sleep, and just, the day gets over. So if you follow that trend, we tend to be more productive. If you follow the opposite trend, which most of us entrepreneurs do, we stay up all night and sleep at weird hours and whatnot. And of course, we are not in Satya Yuga, we're in Kali Yuga. So what to do? That's our lifestyle. Things get a little difficult. Our focus is not much there. We struggle with our health because we are not working in alignment with material nature. So I'll repeat again: Ishvara, God; Jiva, us; Karma, activities; Kala, time; and Prakriti, material nature. These are the 5 elements of the Bhagavad Gita that are described. Now within that, the first 6 chapters are about us, the Jiva. The middle 6 chapters, the core, is about Krishna. Not only who Krishna is, but also very much details about the personality of Krishna. And the last 6 chapters is about liberation. So that's how Bhagavad Gita is divided, right? And like I said, there are 5 basic truths: the living entities, jivas; material nature, prakriti; time, activity; supreme controller, Ishvara, Krishna. Okay, I'll pause for a second because I know there's a few newcomers. So any questions you want to ask, anything that wasn't clear? Just pausing to see if you have any burning questions you want to ask. You can unmute yourself and ask, or you can ask in the chat section. Yes, no, maybe so. All right, moving on. Now, in chapter 5, Krishna defines a very important principle of equality and unity. So all living beings, Krishna says, have the God element in them. That means Krishna or God is in the form of Paramatma within the hearts or the consciousness of all living entities. So here, there's a picture that depicts that particular verse of chapter 5. I think it's 5:18, if I remember correctly, where Krishna is saying that on the soul level, there is an equality, where the humble sage, he sees with true knowledge, sees with equality, the elephant, the brahmana, the cow, the dog eater, right? The chandal, the word chandal means dog eater. So one who's supposed to be an outcast. So there's equality among all of those people because they're each temples of God. In each living entity, whether it's a dog or a cow or a cat or a human or a man or a woman, there's God sitting in the heart. Krishna is residing within the heart. That makes us temples of God. So in that way, spiritually, we are all equal. But materially, we are all different. So for example, if an elephant is mad, stay away from it. Don't poke it. Don't go near and hug the elephant. If the tiger is around, run away, right? So spiritually, we are equal, but materially, we are different. So that's why sometimes we keep our distance from envious people. And we stay close to those who appreciate us, who uplift us, right? So it's not important that we, just because we're all equal on the spiritual platform, we treat everyone equally, right? Now that would create some commotion now. Like, what do you mean? Just like I said, there are some people who want to hurt us and we want to stay away from them. And there are some people who are positive. We want to be around them. We want their association. So there is discrimination. And it is important to discriminate between those that help us and those that hurt us. Only then we can be in an environment where we grow and thrive. Otherwise, we will be in an environment where we are abused. So there are, according to the Vedic classification, 8.4 million species of life. There are 900,000 varieties of aquatics, 2 million varieties of plants, trees, and grass, which is called thavara. That means they're fixed beings. So this is not the same as the classification of modern day biology. This is a Vedic classification, right? So Jalaja Navalakshami. So Jalaja means aquatics, those beings that are in the water, 900,000. Sthavara Lakshavimshati. So 2 lakh or 200,000, sorry, 2 million, 2 million forms, varieties of species of plants, trees, and grass. 1.1 million germs and insects. 1 million avians, things that fly, or beings that fly. 3 million animals, and 400,000 humans. Now you would ask, 400,000 humans, how did that happen, right? Because it is considering the entire universe, not just us. And yes, there are aliens, according to the Vedic understanding. Aliens as in there are other planets where life exists. And so when you take those into account, there are 400,000 varieties of humans, yakshas, yavanas, and this and that. And there's all kinds of devatas, there's asuras. So various forms of species of human beings that are there. Now, Krishna says in 5th chapter 15, Mamavamsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha, mana shastrani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So basically, Krishna is saying, you are a part of me. You're a spark of me. Every living being is a spark of the divine, right? So we are divine. That's what is being said here. So because we are part of God, we are also godly. We're not God, but we are God-like. And thus, in a very tiny way, we act like God in many cases. But because we don't know how to handle that, it's like a baby elephant dealing with its trunk. It's a very powerful thing, having that trunk, but when it doesn't know, it goes here and there, it They try to play with it. They don't know how to use it. So when we don't know how to use this power, we struggle. We struggle very hard. And Krishna is saying, Manaha Shashtani Indriyani. So 6 senses, which include the mind. So according to Bhagavad Gita, the mind is part of the 6 senses. So there are 5 senses, as we know, and all these 5 senses go into the mind where it's processed, and that gives meaning to what we see, right? So as I'm seeing through my eyes, I'm hearing through my ears, I'm smelling through my nose, they're all giving me a wholesome output of what I am looking at. If it's biryani, for example, by looking at it, by smelling it, by hearing others talking about it and all of that, we are getting a clear picture that this is something biryani or gulab jamun or whatever else. Sorry, I'm a foodie. That's all I can think of. All right. Now, this is a very important aspect of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna starts the knowledge, the lesson, by saying, not only we are part of God, but we are eternal and unchanging. That means the soul that we are, that is moving from one body to another body to another body. If you look at your childhood pictures, you're not the same person that you used to be. You were a child, then an adolescent, then many of you are in the youthful stage. Some of us are moving on to the middle age, and one day we will die. And then the soul will continue to the next birth, to the next birth, to the next body, like that. So it is eternal. It's never born, it never dies. It has always existed, just like God. It moves on from body to body. In this life, it's moving. So it's said that a human body changes all its cells every 7 years. So every 7 years, you have a completely new body, right? So the soul is moving from this body to that body, but the identity is not changing. The sense of I am, I exist, that doesn't change, right? That's moving on. Now what changes is, we are in a certain body, but we can't do what we used to do before. Society and others will judge us. So there comes the quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, old age depression, and all of that, because the body has moved on, but the soul is youthful. The soul is never old. And as a result, the mismatch between the body and the soul, and we become unhappy with our surroundings, unhappy with our situation. We get depressed sometimes. Life is not moving. I'm getting old. All of that comes in. Now, the body is made up of earth, water, air, fire, and ether. So these are different elements listed in Bhagavad Gita. Of course, we know from biology, our bones are made of calcium, there's potassium, there's magnesium, there's all kinds of earthy materials that are in the body, including gold is there within the body, right? Then there's water. 70% of the body is water. We're breathing it, pranayama, prana vayu, right? The air that we are breathing in, breathing out. So air is in the body. People, when one dies, one says, it is said that he breathed his last, the pran vayu left. There's fire in the body. That means there is heat. There is, if a person is dead, when the soul leaves the body, there is no more heat. It's cold. But right now we have a certain temperature of 96.4 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, right? And there's ether, or intermolecular space. And then there is subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego, right? This subtle body carries the soul. So there's a physical body, which is like a machine, right? That functions like a machine. And there's a subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, and ego, which is the operating system. To think about the phone and the operating system on the phone, the software on the phone. The hardware is this, and the software is the mind, intelligence, and ego. And within that is the conscious being, the soul, which is governing everything and experiencing everything. When you experience love, right? A phone doesn't experience anything. It is very intelligent, it can get things done, but it doesn't experience anything. We experience feelings, we experience emotions, we experience joy, right? So that experience, who is feeling it? That is the conscious being within. That's the soul. Now, I know many of you have been here and already know this. And for you, I don't want you to get bored. What I want you to do is listen carefully. So when you explain this to somebody new, you can explain it in the simplest of ways, right? The Bhagavad Gita speaks in very simple language. So those who are veterans and already know this and heard this many times, take it as a way of learning so you can teach it to others. And those who are new, just absorb whatever you can absorb. Okay, so mind, intelligence, and false ego. Now, this is also the subtle body. This is the subtle body that moves from one body to another. When death happens, this is what moves the soul to the next destination. Sometimes when you don't have a body, this is called the bhuta or ghosts, right? Because it has all the feelings, the mind is there, intelligence there, ego is there, the soul is there, conscious being, but doesn't have a physical body due to karma or due to some accident, due to some murder, whatever it might be, and that's called ghost. And generally, when we devotees find out about ghosts, we just chant Hare Krishna, so they get good benefit and they can get a body and be happy with that new life. Prayash is asking, Prabhuji, is air subtler than fire? No, air can be touched and it has it has volume. Fire doesn't. So fire is subtler than air. Pranav is asking, hi Avelo, there's an emergency. I need, oh, okay. All right, I understand. All right. Now, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, and I personally find this very, very inspiring. He describes the soul in these ways. He says, you're indestructible. You never die. You're unchangeable. You're cognizant. That means you're aware. You're blissful. And you're amazing. Literally, he says, Ascharyavat. That means you're amazing. You're incredible. Ascharya. Wow. Right? Now, Krishna made us, but he's wowed by us because what all we are capable of. And that's what Krishna is saying in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, that you're indestructible. You're never born, you never die. You're unchangeable, right? You're always Satchidananda. You're cognizant, you're conscious, you're blissful, you're happy. That's how we are supposed to be in the true spiritual, as a soul. But because of this body and we think we're this body, then body-related problems happen, right? Oh, my country this, my child this, my mother this, my father this, my friend that, right? And we connect with the problems of this world, and thus we feel unhappy. But as a soul by itself, part of the divine, and being divine, it is actually very blissful. So when we come back to our Krishna consciousness, come back to our spiritual selves, then again, we experience that bliss even in the middle of all kinds of problems, even in the middle of all kinds of difficulties. Prashad is asking, Prabhuji, is there something called the conscious mind and the subconscious mind? Well, absolutely, absolutely. So the mind obviously is divided into what we consciously understand and feel and think, and what goes deeper within, which is majority of the mind, which is subconscious mind. So all our value system, how we see the world, how we make decisions and judgments, they come from the subconscious mind. For example, if as a child, I was, I had a bad experience with a person of certain religious group, or a person with a certain skin color, or a person from a certain community, I might end up growing up hating people from that community, creating a stereotype in my mind that people who are from this community, this religious group, or this state are like that. There might be some truth to it. There might be not much truth to it. But the point is that is embedded in our subconscious brain. Now, whenever we make decisions, that is a bias that works on us. So yes, definitely, there's a conscious mind. There's a subconscious mind. Beyond that is the ego, the sense of I. If I think I'm rich, poor, ugly, fat, short, whatever it might be, that's the ego. And it's called false ego because of false identification. Because the real identification is I am divine, part and parcel of Krishna or God. Anything beyond that is false identification, right? So beyond the ego is the soul. Okay. So this is how Krishna defines us as the pure soul. Now, why are we not happy? Because fish out of water isn't happy. So for us, being spiritual beings, having a material body, connected with material things, although we're trying to find happiness, it doesn't give us happiness. A fish might be in a very fancy car with jewelry and it might have ice cream, but the fish is happy in water. So for us, we are happy in a spiritual connection. When we are connected spiritually, only then true happiness comes. The rest is a distraction. Somebody's microphone is on. All right. So instead of fish being out of water, when we connect with Krishna, we are fish in the water and we are happy. So it's not like we have to try very hard to get out of materialness. Like it's not like we have to go to the Himalayas, like Arjun was initially thinking, oh, I should just leave everything and run away. Just turn on the Krishna light. Krishna is like light, Maya is like darkness. You turn on the light, darkness goes away. You turn on the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, darkness of ignorance goes away. So you invite Krishna and darkness of fear, anxiety, ignorance immediately. Why does fear, anxiety, depression come? Due to uncertainty, due to the lack of knowledge of what is going to happen, right? When you turn on the Krishna light, things are awesome. Even after coming to Krishna consciousness, sometimes you have doubts. I was going through a phase where I was trying out being a monk, and I was living in the temple. I was not very happy, by the way. I was kind of like, what am I doing with my life? Am I never going to earn my money? Am I not going to have all the things I used to have? So being a brahmachari or a monk means being a beggar. And it's not my nature to be a beggar. I can't beg for anything. And it was like, what am I doing? So I got very depressed. And I asked my mentor, I'm like, Prabhuji, what's going to happen? He's like, he looks at me. Actually, I never have to ask him. He just sees me and he's like, what's happening? You don't seem happy. I said, yeah, I'm scared. He's like, scared of what? Of the future. And he's like, future? Why? What's wrong with your future? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's ahead. Am I going to be in this way, that way? I don't know. And I was driving a car at the time. And it's like, what kind of car are you driving? Isn't that a nice car? I'm like, yeah, it's a fancy car. He's like, what kind of food are you eating? I'm like, 5-star food. So I started something called Krishna Lunch. It was literally 5-star food. Every day we were making food and was distributing to everyone. He said, what kind of place you're living? Krishna's own house. You're in the temple, right? Aren't you happy being in such an opulent situation? And he completely turned my idea of being a beggar around. And I'm like, when you say it that way, but I'm worried, will I continue like this or will I be an entrepreneur again? I don't know, what should I do? He's like, why are you worried? Let Krishna show you the path, right? He has always been there with you. I'm like, yes, without a doubt. And it's like, so why will it change? He's going to be there with you. He's going to guide you through, and I'm here for you. I'm like, awesome. And I was totally up and going forward. And till date, that's the same thing. Whenever I feel down, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. What's going to happen? Oh, there is this and that problem and that problem. And I just call him, he's like, breathe. Okay, after I breathe 3 times, he'll be like, okay, what do you think this? And he'll just make me say the answer to my problems. He won't even have to say anything. And that's the beauty of it. We know the answers. We need somebody to remind us that this process works. It has worked for 5,000 years. It has worked for before that, and it's going to continue to work. So Bhagavad Gita knowledge works. It's a solution to all our problems coming from God himself. But sometimes even practitioners, we forget, and a mentor, a teacher, a guru reminds us, this is how it is. And we follow the process and we go through difficulties, but holding Krishna's hand, we come out of the difficulty victorious. And that's the beauty of it. We are not escapists. We don't run away to the Himalayas. We don't run away from family. We don't run away from our jobs, but we turn on the Krishna light. We turn on the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and darkness of depression, Darkness of ignorance runs away instantly. Who am I? Right? This is a question I'm sure we have asked many times if you're thoughtful. So we generally think I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a this and a that, and a rich and a poor, and a unintelligent, stupid, lazy. All of these are coming from these three things: sattva, rajatama, right? Maya. So we are being played around, we are being influenced constantly. Sattvic influence in the morning, right? All good, we feel like praying and meditating. Rajasic in the afternoon, go run, or else your competitor will take over. And in the evening, oh, it's okay, I don't feel like doing anything. Or sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't feel like doing anything. So laziness, influence the mode of ignorance, right? So sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, they influence us. And if we are not strong, we will get influenced and we will act according to how these things influence us, right? So it is, even though I wake up and I feel lazy, I'm like, no, but I am answerable to my board of directors. I need to sustain my company. I need to keep going. I need to build and grow my business. This is my responsibility. Okay, get up, keep going. If you're awake, you get to say no to the influence of material nature. If you're not awake, you kind of fall prey to the influence of material nature. So goodness, passion, and ignorance are sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Goodness is used for maintenance. Passion is important for creation. And ignorance is important for destruction. So Lord Brahma represents that creative energy, created this entire universe beautifully for us and all the other demigods and whatnot, right? In different planetary systems. So all living entities can be happy. But Lord Vishnu is a maintainer. This requires goodness because just like startups, right? Many times we notice it's easy to start up, but to maintain that business, to continue the growth, to do the compliance, taxes, legalities, hiring, all the boring stuff, it's not as exciting as I thought it would be. But you have to do it. And the mode of goodness is what allows us to do our duty, which is not exciting, but we do it anyway. So Lord Vishnu represents the mode of goodness where all the planets are going in the right orbits, gravity works, sun is giving its light, nature is doing its job, everything is perfectly maintaining the system. And then Lord Shiva, he is the master of destruction. So when it's time for destruction, Lord Shiva expands to 12 Rudras and they starts his dance and boom, whole universe is being destroyed. Right? And it's important for destruction to happen so creation can happen again, sustenance can happen again, destruction. So this is the way all life works. This is the way the universe works. And if you look at it, even startups work this way. You start a startup, you grow the valuation, eventually you get acquired, acqui-hired, IPO, or you fail, whatever else, but there's destruction. And then you move on to something else and you build it up. So very, very, if you see this is happening throughout, everywhere we look at. The universe, our lives, our businesses, the table, the chair, everything has gone through creation, maintenance, destruction. All right, I'll pause and see if there are any questions. Likewise, you said before we have a bad habit of, because somehow we are connected with others, something like comments. I'm not sure what you're asking. Maybe you're making a statement with them. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now the three modes, they act together. It's not like it's only goodness, it's only passion, it's only ignorance. So just like the three colors, red, blue, green, they can combine to create 16 million colors, right, on an LED screen. So similarly, the sattvic, rajasic, tamasic modes can combine to create all kinds of things, all kinds of emotions, all kinds of life forms, all kinds of fruits, trees, everything. So everywhere you will see a combination of the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, our nature itself. Sometimes we are really angry, in a bad mood. So we are being charged, influenced by passion and ignorance. Sometimes we are in a very giving, charitable mood. We are being influenced by the mode of goodness. So when you start noticing these things, you realize, as a third person, you recognize how the mind is getting influenced. And you can choose to get influenced or not, right? A strong yogi, a strong spiritualist learns to not get influenced by these things and do what is required for that moment, for the goal, the purpose of one's life. Why we do what we do is because of these influences. Now, the soul by nature is pure, but because we are, in this material body, which is dead and, it's dead. Without the soul, it's dead. You can take out the heart, the kidney, the lungs, and put it into somebody else. It will work perfectly. But the consciousness is not there. So that's the difference between a dead body and a living body. So the conscious being, the soul, is in the dead body, which keeps it alive and keeps it going. This is called the conditioned state. Goodness, passion, ignorance, all of that is influencing this conditioned state. The soul is seeing the world through these filters, through who we think we are. And accordingly, action, reaction, or karma, karmic activities are happening. And then as we grow up, this leads to our psychophysical nature, which is in short terms is a caste system. So according to our, Krishna says, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So the four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, which here refers to Brahmana as professors or teachers or scientists, Kshatriya, the police, the army, the leaders, the political persons, the administrators, the Vaishyas, the business folks, and the Shudras, the laborers. He says, Chatur Varnam, Maya Srishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So Guna, according to one's quality and activities, these four systems are created. It is not by birth. It is by one's psychophysical, psychological, and physical nature. And that leads to 8.4 million species of life, combination of the three modes. Right? Now, karma. Where does karma come in? So time is eternal. It's going on and on and on and on and on. But then we have lifespans that are finite. So we are also going, the soul is also infinitely walking through that eternal timeline with short life, long life, middle life, short life, long life, too long life, etc. Right? And every moment we are making choices and taking action. Every moment we're making choices. And those choices lead to the next moment, to the next moment, to the next moment. If at this choice, I make a choice to eat lots and lots of gulab jamun, I'd keep doing that. I'm going to get fat, right? Which I do. And that's why the double chin. Anyway, if I make a choice to study the Bhagavad Gita and apply those principles, I might have a happier life. Not I might, I will have a happier life, right? I'll have clarity of perception of what life is all about. If I am going to the gym, I'm going to have a healthier body. I'm eating right things. So all my choices lead to what I get circumstantially in the future. So my circumstances give me choices, and I make choices, and I get future circumstances. So like that, every moment I'm creating my destiny. Destiny is not given by somebody else. We are creating our own destiny by our own choices. And those choices lead to the lives we get. So that's karma. I made good choices, I might get a life. So the next life is dependent on my desires and my karma, right? So my desire, I want to be really rich. And my karma is like, I have killed a lot of people. What are we going to do? Okay, fine, become a dog in a rich person's house, right? I'm just making that up. Please don't take it word for word. All I'm saying is it's a combination of our desires and our karmic bank balance. And based on that, we get the next life. So every moment we're creating a destiny, and our choices are making our lives better, worse, ugly, whatever. And the future lives also after death, what we get is based on the choices we make in this life. So choices we made in our past life has allowed us to be in this whatever situation we are born in. So make a choice and a point. Some choices have short-term repercussions. Some choices have long-term repercussions. You punch somebody, you get punched back. You steal from the government, or you steal from somebody who might not know. If they might not do anything, but eventually you'll have to pay that off, right? Sometimes it comes out of many lifestyles, right? So Krishna says, "Time I am the destroyer of the worlds." Right? So time is an energy of Krishna, and as this energy, anybody, there's creation, maintenance, and destruction. So time is the ultimate destroyer, and this was actually spoken by, I think, the guy who invented atom bomb. So when he saw that mushroom cloud, he spoke these words of Bhagavad Gita: "The time I am the destroyer of the worlds." So that's how the law of karma works. Anyway, I think that's enough I want to give on kind of introduction to Bhagavad Gita for those of us who are a little new. Okay, Prasad is asking, Prabhuji, we could see the rich people can fulfill all their dreams, they're happy. Then how can we say that they're not happy? Trust me, at least I personally know a lot of very, very wealthy people who are extremely unhappy. And where does the unhappy come from? Well, of course, it looks like they have the comforts of life, but within that comfort, there is, just to give an example, one of my mentors happens to be extremely wealthy with all the fancy beach houses and private jets and everything else. And he's on his fourth wife right now. And his son doesn't call him unless he needs some money. He has nobody really who cares for him unless he can pay for something that they care about, right? Is he happy with his private jets and everything else? He feels accomplished, no doubt, but at the same time, he doesn't feel fulfilled, right? And there are many such instances. So whether you're rich, poor, ugly, it doesn't matter. This place, material world, dukhalayam ashashvatam. So it is, everybody's somewhere on the unhappy. There are sometimes breaks within two unhappiness periods, and we think that is happiness. But when you come to spirituality, and I'm sure you will experience it, then you see the positive aspect of happiness, which is true happiness, which is the ocean of happiness, which you have not experienced in the material situation. So yes, there is certainly happiness and comfort, but so for example, emotional happiness is higher than physical happiness. If you're getting, if you're in an air-conditioned room in a hot summer day, of course, you're feeling happy that I'm in a cold room. But more than that is when you achieve something and you get one of these awards, right? There is the intellectual stimulation of happiness. Like, okay, I have received something nice. You solve a problem, a puzzle, there is a stimulation and you feel, there's a sense of accomplishment that's higher than the physical happiness. And then there is, emotional happiness when your parents cry tears and say, oh, you have fulfilled my dream. I'm so proud of you. And you feel really happy, right? So similarly, there is spiritual happiness, which is far deeper and far more, and there is no words to explain it. Unless you experience it, there is no material words that can explain what is spiritual happiness. But the point is, it is far higher than what we have ever experienced. So rich, poor, ugly, doesn't matter. Everybody goes through difficulties. They have their different levels of difficulties. In the scriptural way it is described, being in a prison, somebody has a iron chain, somebody has a silver chain, somebody has a gold chain, but they're all chained anyway. Also, if one is a good devotee but is not able to earn sufficiently, thus he not happy. See, happiness should not depend on how much money you should make. You should make money. I'm not saying you shouldn't, right? You should be successful in whatever profession you're in. But tying happiness to how much money you make it is almost, you're bound to be sad, because there's going to be ups and downs in life. So your happiness will also go ups and downs. For a spiritual person, we don't tie happiness to those things. We tie happiness to something that is permanent. So you're always happy. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. Not only you're always happy, your happiness grows as you grow. I hope that helps answer your question, Prasad. Anybody else has any questions, especially first timers?
Yes, Roy, correct.
Okay. No questions? Pitan is asking, likewise, you said before we have a bad habit of uh, social media because somehow we are connected with others. Someone like, I didn't say that. I think I'm being misunderstood, Pitan. Bad habit or good habit? I don't speak in those languages, bad or good. I might have said addiction to social media, which is no different than addiction to anything. Addiction to pornography, addiction to drugs, addiction to alcohol. So when something else controls you, that is called addiction. You can't say no to it. That is addiction. So when you're addicted to likes and comments, right, trying to be an influencer or whatever else, when you're addicted to others clapping for you, others saying, you are awesome, then only you're happy, or else you're not happy, that's a problem. Otherwise, hey, I'm on social media all the time. I get likes and comments all the time. Of course, there are some comments that are negative, but mostly it's very much loving and sweet comments. And I enjoy it. But if my value system gets connected to how many likes I get, today I got 100 likes, I am like, I'm unhappy. Tomorrow I get 500 likes and I'm like, yes, I'm happy. Then that's a problem. That's not how a spiritualist is supposed to be, right? We don't give the remote control of a life to somebody else's hand. We keep the remote control of our happiness, our life in our hands. We define when I would want to do what I want to do, right? Otherwise, we get controlled by others. Prabhuji, is there something called conscious mind? Okay, I've answered that. Lakshmita. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Can you please share the recording of the previous classes? Oh yes, I'll share with you. I'll add you to the group. Read me, I don't know who you are. I mean, why is our society death is considered as negative? Just a query, maybe out of context. Not out of context. Death is considered negative because it's not natural for the soul to die, right? Because the soul is eternal and we are the soul. So death is not natural to us. Having said that, with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, when we come to the understanding that the body is dying, the person is not. The person moves on or lives on, just changing bodies, then it's no more a scary thing. I used to cry at the slightest thought of my grandmother dying when I was a child. I would just think, oh my God, there would be a day when she will die. No, I can't live. I can't be on this planet when she's not here. But thanks to Krishna consciousness, that day came, 19th December 2015. And I was there with her, chanting Hare Krishna next to her and helping her pass on to her next destination. It was not a joyful day, but it was not the day that I wanted to end my life either, because I knew the body is dead and I have control over benefiting her soul. And that gave me tremendous joy, that I have the ability to benefit her even after she has left the body. And that's powerful, right? So death is not a bad thing when you know what death really is. But for those who don't understand the difference between body and soul, death is unnatural. And that is why death is scary. Satya Bondhu is saying, we used to neglect spiritual life while pursuing a passion. How can we balance it? You don't have to balance it. Make spiritual life part of your passion, of your passion. So for example, Arjun's passion is, or profession is, to fight. He's a warrior. He's an archer. That's his passion. He's the best. Now, under Krishna's guidance, he's fighting this war. So he's aligned his passion with profession, with spirituality. So he's fighting as a matter of duty, not just as passion, but it's a dharma yudh. So when you do your profession, your passion, your entrepreneurship with the intention as a service to God, that becomes spiritualized. That is as good as worship. It is non-different from somebody being on the altar ringing the bell and doing the arati, right? It's the same thing. So bhakti comes in various shapes and sizes. It is not just in the temple. When we are working, when we work with devotion, that is also bhakti. So there is no balancing. Just understand how it works and make it a part of your life. I hope, Satya, that helps. Ujjwal, how to get added to the group? Okay. Message me wherever you are connected with me with your phone number, your WhatsApp number, and I'll add you to the group. Apurva, Anand, how to choose one's profession by determining our material nature, and how to decide by which profession I'll be able to satisfy Krishna the most. So you don't do that. That is something a mentor does for you. Somebody who watches you, learns you, understands your modes of nature. Such a person guides you that you'll be happy in this direction, which I do for a lot of you, right? From a psychological perspective and a quality perspective, I can understand, here is a person who will be happy with marketing and advertising. Here is a person who will be happy with anything to do with numbers, analytics, analytical, world. So like that, it's not something you can do it because your mind will tell you this and that, but somebody who you trust and who understands you and is understanding of the modus operandi of Bhagavad Gita will be able to guide you in that direction. Due to some technical error, I couldn't join with my name. I'm Ivan, and it's showing red. Okay, Ivan, nice to see you. Thank you for the revert on the death. Awesome. Prasad, can we change our past karma by practicing bhakti? We can't change our past karma. We can burn our karma altogether. So it goes away. But the thing is, good and bad, both goes away, right? So the more bhakti you do, it burns away your karma. As a result, you don't have to take birth again. After this life, you go home back to Vaikuntha, spiritual world, where there is no more time. It's not the material world. It's a spiritual world. That's our goal, right? So we burn our karma and we don't tinker with material nature. We live a devotional life. That doesn't mean we give up. We just include Krishna in the picture. We include God in the picture, and we act devotionally as parents, as husbands, as wives, as professionals, as entrepreneurs, as bosses, whatever we are, whatever roles we are, we act devotionally in these roles. And thus our action becomes spiritualized and it becomes bhakti. All right, it is 8:30 and thank you very much for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. See you next week.